Hello, and welcome to Think About It. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and I invite you to tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. So today, I'm talking with someone about transitions, and this is more our next stage of life, especially when we're seniors, transition. And yes, I fall into that category. So my guest today is Jan Brito, and Jan is the co-founder of Capital Senior Solutions. So we're going to be talking about what it takes to kind of get ourselves ready for making those next choices in our lives. So Jan, welcome.
Thank you.
Think About It.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And so I've known Jan, I met Jan through an organization called Montgomery Women, and had heard her talk about the transition she helps people make, especially in the real estate world, which she'll talk about briefly. And I thought, we need to think beyond just where do we move next, because that transition entails a whole lot of stuff, and that's what we're going to talk about. So Jan,
Yes.
What's your background story? What brings you to be focusing on this?
Well, I've been a licensed realtor for 18 years. I love what I do. I love being able to make a big difference in people's lives. But as I've grown older, under here is gray. It's natural gray somewhere under there. As I grow older and my client base grows older, I started realizing there's a different need when you're dealing with older adults, because people making a late in life move transition can often get stopped in their tracks just thinking about, oh my God, I've lived in this house for 50 years. It's full of stuff. I don't even know where to start, so I'm not going anywhere. So it paralyzes people. So I sought a higher level of education to serve the older population. And even though I've been licensed for 18 years, I didn't start thinking about specializing in this niche, if you will, until 2020. So during COVID, I discovered the Seniors Real Estate Institute in Oklahoma City that has a very advanced course that teaches realtors how to work with older adults. It's like a graduate level course, very intense. It took a year to get through. I did it live on Zoom during COVID. And then I spent 2021 putting my business plan together and naming the company and getting branding and the website and everything. And I launched in January of 2022. And our focus is on educating and empowering older adults who are making these late in life move transitions. Yes, we can sell the house when it's time for that, but our primary goal is to work with people from the moment they start thinking about making that transition. As I said, the stuff can often be a stopping point. So we'll come in early. We'll help them sort, tag, decide what they want to donate, what they want to keep, what they want to sell. We'll connect them with the appropriate resources that can help with that process. There's a professional organization of professional senior move managers. Not many people are familiar with that concept, but all of our clients use them because these are people that will come in and help you sort, tag, label. They'll get a floor plan of where you're going, whether it's a senior community or a condo or a smaller home. And based on what you want to take with you, they'll map it out and tell you what's going to fit. The rest of it, they'll help you get it to donation points, decide what goes to family, what gets trashed, if you will. And if there's items of value, we'll bring in an estate liquidator to help liquidate the items and bring more assets to the family if that's possible. And then the home sale is, usually after all that happens. So we get involved very early in the process.
So if I'm thinking about, I need to get out of this large house, but I'm not quite thinking yet about bringing in a real estate agent, how do I know to call you?
Well, we do regular monthly seminars on topics of interest to older adults. Very rarely is it about real estate. For instance, we had one earlier this week at a senior community called Personal Property, Valuing, Keeping, Tossing, and Selling. And in that seminar, we focused on what items have value. Should you have an estate sale? Should you have a yard sale? What professionals do you bring in? How do you vet them? What will sell, what won't? And what's interesting is people will save china that they got from their grandmother and think they're going to pass it down to their kids, and they're hanging on to it in a china hutch somewhere. They don't use it for everyday dinner, but it's just sitting there taking up space. Well, guess what? The kids don't want it. Kids are into minimalism. They do not want your antiques. They don't want your china.
Not the little Hummel figures that,
No.
have accumulated across the whole house.
No. So what I tell people is pull out that special china. Use it every day. Celebrate yourself. Enjoy it. That's what it's there for. And for instance, if you're saving a bread machine for your niece because you know she likes to bake, well, when was the last time you actually baked bread, right? If you're not using it and you're saving it for her, go ahead and give it to her now. Watch her enjoy it. Have that joy.
So she's probably ready for a smart bread machine. So anything that we got in the house.
Yeah. And here's another thing people think have value, and I have a big container of them in my house too. Are you ready for this? Beanie Babies.
Oh, gee.
They're worth this much.
Oh my gosh, yes. Fads have gone, what's the other, the Cabbage Patch Doll. I mean, all of these fads
Yeah.
that we thought they spent tons of money on in the
know.
past. Oh my gosh. So get back to so then when we first met, I thought, okay, she's a real, my mind, she's a real estate agent. There's hundreds of them. So what differentiates you? So you've kind of basically explained that you've got a holistic approach.
Yeah, so
making
any
that.
realtor can sell a home.
Yeah.
Some do it better than others. But we come in early in the process and deal with all aspects of the move, and that's what makes us different. I'll give you an example. I got an email from a realtor yesterday saying, I have a listing and I need to know who I can contact that can go check on the house every now and then and water the garden because the family lives out of state. Well, guess what? That's your job, right? If you're not prepared as a realtor to take on an older adult making a transition like this, then you may want to refer it to someone who can have the patience and take the time that it is necessary. I have another listing right now. The gentleman has gone to live with the family in upstate New York. All the siblings are in different states, and I'm here, boots on the ground on their behalf, managing the clean out of the house, the improvements, and so forth. We're not even on the market yet. So I come in way early, and I think it takes a special breed to do this because it is a long-term process. This is all long-term relationships. It's not just a quick sale. It's not transactional at all. It's very much relational.
And I mean, there's sensitivity, I'm thinking.
Oh, yes.
To show. There's that bedside manner. There's
Absolutely.
empathy.
Family dynamics.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're dealing with multiple siblings who may not agree with each other on how to deal with things, and you have to, that's when I put on my coaching hat. I also have a designation as a senior downsizing coach.
Okay.
That's when those skills come into play. Another example is we'll get a call from an adult child who says, Mom needs to move to assisted living. Come over and meet her and let's talk about getting the house on the market. We walk in and it's clear Mom's not going anywhere. Charlie might think she needs to go, but she hasn't realized it yet. And he's trying to bully her into making the move. That's when, again, we put the coaching hat on and talk to Mom about what she wants, what she'd like to see. I think what's missing a lot in this world, if you will, is the dignity and respect that these older adults deserve, no matter how old they are, no matter what their cognitive ability is. They're still human beings that deserve that respect.
Yeah.
And children sometimes get impatient and forget that, and we can sort of, neutralize that for them and help everybody get along.
That's a good point to remember, because I remember when we moved my mom in fact, the reason we moved to Montgomery County, it was because I had a small house in Prince George's County, and I knew 3 women in a house were just not going to work in that small house. So we moved Mom in, and I lost her at 99. So
You're so lucky you had her that long.
So as she started to deteriorate more physically than mentally, I kept hearing people say, you're switching roles. Your mother is now the child, and vice versa. And I had one gentleman put my mind right. He said, "Your mother is always your mother. She is not child." He said, "Your caregiving roles have switched, but always maintain the respect of being her daughter." And I was like, and that just changed the way I communicated and brought things up.
It's so important. And ageism is a real thing in this country. Older adults often aren't respected because they think, people often think when you get old, you don't remember much, you can't do a lot. Well, that's not true. And some of the greatest joys I get are hearing stories from these older adults of things that happen in their life. And when you're going through a house full of possessions, here's one of the things we tell people. take the time to really enjoy the memories that an item gives you. Look at it, embrace it, think about the memory it brings back, but then let it go. There's a great book by Matt Paxton, who has a PBS show called Legacy List, and it's called Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. And he talks about that exact thing. Find somebody to tell the story to, whether it's a relative, a friend, a neighbor. Let them hear your stories, but then let that thing go because it's taking up space and you can't take it with you.
Wow, I like that. I like that.
It's a great book.
So, in addition to, or also from the seniors downsizing, do you work with other types of transitions, like, I don't know, someone becomes ill and now needs mobility, needs to change their location for mobility reasons, or aging out of the foster, I don't know, I'm thinking aging out of the foster care system and they now have to figure out how to make it on their own? I mean, are there other transitions?
Well, I would say that I can assist people who want to age in place. As a matter of fact, there's a big village movement in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
And also in DC, for folks who want to age in place, and they get support from their neighbors for rides and companionship and computer help or whatever they might need. I volunteer for 2 of those villages just as a volunteer for the village, not as a resident. And so I can help people if they want to make modifications that allow them to age in place. I can refer them to companies who do that kind of work.
Okay.
I don't do that kind of work. I don't take a referral fee. I just do it to be of help, be of assistance. And ultimately, most people will have to move at some point. You know, there's the folks who say, you'll take me out of here in a pine box. Well, they might get to the point where they actually need some care before they get in the pine box. And, you know, I want to be a resource so that they remember me when the time comes that maybe I could help further.
And you work with, legal and financial
all
and
the time,
bringing those kinds of people in?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the seminars we teach is the truth about getting your affairs in order. I moderate a panel of an estate attorney, a financial advisor, and believe it or not, a funeral director from Gallers in DC, the famous funeral home. And she talks about prearrangements and the importance of making those plans ahead of time rather than burdening your family with it when they're grieving.
Yeah.
And that's always a very well-attended topic because it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I vouch for that because we helped Mom, with prearrange. So when she finally did pass, it was like, call one number and all the things that we put into place and prepaid for, we're taken care of. And what a relief when you're going through that grief.
No, and a lot of times the older adult feels good knowing things are in place and they're not going to be burdening their children. And knowing that what they want to see happen will be carried out.
So we're almost coming to the break time so I'm kind of filling in some of those questions. When we come back, I really want to hit on, you talked about helping people with their stuff. And I'm thinking, so there's got to be more than just the physical stuff. Now you mentioned some, but I want to dig more into the mindset and the no, I'm not ready for this, or no, we're not at that stage. So some of that emotional stuff,
absolutely,
that we deal with. So when we come back, we're going to talk about a lot more of the stuff that gets in our way for making those transitions. So with that, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. If you own firearms, it's your responsibility to make sure they're always stored safely. Hiding them in a closet or drawer is not enough. Kids know where they are. Research shows the risk of injury and death is lower if guns are stored unloaded and locked up, with the ammunition locked in a separate place. This is important when children are young, as well as when they grow into teenagers. For more, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org.
Welcome back to Think About It. I am still Sylvia Henderson, your host, and we're still talking about senior transitions primarily. It's seniors, since that's the focus. And my guest is Jan Brito, who is the co-founder of Capital Senior Solutions. I have to keep looking at my notes because I know you in such a different way that's like, oh, what's the official? So Jan, when we stopped, I said that I wanted to, or before the break, I said I wanted to cover more about that stuff that gets in our way. And it's probably stuff that gets in our way in life. but probably even more so for seniors. So I'm going to sort of let you take it away and talk about the non-physical stuff, the mindset, the attitude, the family stuff that gets in the way.
Yeah, it's about so much more than the physical stuff. But as I mentioned early on, that often stops people in their track and they don't even go further. So to help solve that problem, we formed a monthly downsizers club. We meet the first Friday of every month on Zoom. And it's meant to be a small support group that we provide resources, we share challenges, successes, we share resources among each other. I give them homework each week and they report back, or each month, they report back on it the next month. These are people who could be anywhere from a few months to 5 years away from making a move. We've got members in our group who are on priority lists for communities still being built. But what we do is start the conversation early. Where do I go to shred stuff? We have a little homework wheel. I put it in the chat, they click their mouse and it spins the wheel, and whatever category it stops on, that's what they do for homework that month. Could be hats and gloves. It could be kitchen utensils. But the idea is to start small. Don't think that you can start this downsizing or decluttering process and do it all in one weekend or all at one time. It's not possible. Not with 20 to 50 years worth of stuff in a house and lots of closets and drawers to go through. So pick a drawer, pick a closet, and focus on that one thing, and then move on to something else. It makes it much more manageable, and it again gives you the opportunity to realize your memories that these things bring out, because that's a process that's important to go through, and that makes it easier to make the next step. Then we talk about making a plan, and that plan could be years out. But the important is to make the plan while you can make it for yourself before it becomes a crisis, right? So
it's like estate planning in a way.
Well, that's part of it. Yes, certainly it's part of it. And this support group, the Downsizers Club, was intended to be maybe 4 to 6 people. It's become so popular, the last several months we've had over 15 people sign up. Wow. I might have to make it into 2 smaller clubs because it's just such a useful resource for people. And the feedback we get is they love talking to their peers, going through the same thing, sharing information. We had our first graduate. We started it last August, and we had our first graduate in April. Her townhouse sold. She and her husband moved to Seattle. So they are truly retired and off enjoying their transition. I have another woman whose husband is already in skilled nursing in a community in Alexandria. She's still at home and wants to go to that community, but she's sort of paralyzed with the stuff in the house. Okay. And she's been coming for months. Finally, she invited me to the home to help her decide what she might want to do, if anything, to increase the value and some additional information on what to do with the stuff. So I connected her with a gentleman named Daniel Sanders of 4 Sales Ltd., who is an estate liquidator. He can come into a home and do a complimentary consultation and tell you if you have enough items of value to do a sale. So rather than talk to her right away and about listing the house and getting contractors in to do work, you have to take it slow. The stuff is what she's worried about, so let's deal with that first. So he was there today, actually, and texted me afterwards and told me what a nice visit they had. So I'll let her process that part of it. Okay. Let her get through some of that thinning out. And now the next step will be to go and meet her husband, who's already in skilled nursing, because she will join him there in the independent living section of the community. But this is a long process for her, and it's very emotional. So this club and these conversations helps get her through that tough spot. And I think that applies to all of our members.
Wow, yeah. And I know that when I go down in my basement, I go, oh my gosh, later.
Exactly.
So
it literally becomes paralyzing.
Yeah.
Or you look in this closet and that drawer and this corner of the basement. You go, where do I even begin? Yeah. I'm going to go watch a movie.
Family dynamics. I mean, handling a single person in their home is one thing. How do you manage and what's the word I want? And not facilitate, but almost referee.
Or you mediate.
Yes. Family dynamics.
Yeah, that can be challenging. And actually, I am a trained mediator, even though I'm a realtor. So I use that a lot in my process of negotiating with people. And it certainly comes in handy when you're dealing with family dynamics. One of the first things I do when I talk to an older adult or a couple that's thinking of moving is, are there other decision makers you'd like to be involved in this process? Because if there are, I want to bring them in early, and I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. If there isn't, okay, that's fine too. But to understand everyone's role in the process is really important, and to respect the older adult.
Yeah.
And, are you primarily making the decision? Do you want your daughter to be in charge? You know what I mean? And fleshing all those details out.
Cool. So if a viewer is just starting to think through, I'm going to ask sort of, what's a good process for just preparing for that next stage of life? I mean, you've hit on the points that are kind of the points that get in our way. Thinking through what you want to say is one of them also. But kind of take us through, I guess, a thinking process to get us to the point of using you and then working with you through this whole thing,
Sure.
whether it takes a year or whether it takes 5 years.
Well, that's the reason that we support older adults through the education we provide. We do free monthly seminars on different topics, and I would encourage anyone who's even thinking about starting this process, start coming to some of our seminars and gathering information on the different topics.
How do you market those seminars? How do people find out about them?
CapitalSeniorSolutions.com
Okay.
on the seminars page.
Okay.
There's a schedule of seminars that we do regularly on a monthly basis, as well as guest speaking engagements, because we're often asked to go and speak at senior communities or villages. One of the communities we do seminars for monthly is the Ring House in Rockville, and they do hybrid events. So if you're not able to come in person, you can attend via Zoom.
Okay.
And they're very well attended. There's topics such as downsizing made easy, moving mom and dad, the truth about getting your affairs in order, leaving a legacy, personal property, so many topics. And this gets your juices flowing, and it sort of, makes you think about the steps that you need to take. There's also the Downsizers Club. That certainly is a big, big help to people. And knowing
Yeah.
it's a smaller support group, they're not recorded, you can speak freely, everyone is respected.
Yeah, that's great.
Sometimes we'll bring in a speaker to speak for just 10 minutes, because this isn't about sales. We never make our seminars about sales and about real estate. When we make our introduction, we say that, yes, we can help you sell your home when the time comes, but for now we're here to educate you and empower you and help you make decisions. So the Downsizers Club certainly help with that. And where was I going with that?
I think I was thinking through the process of how do I
Yeah.
get ready to.
So I would say
with
I would
you.
encourage people to attend
Yeah.
our seminars, whether it be in person or via Zoom. We also have a pretty robust seminar video library out there on the seminars page. So if you wanted to get a flavor
Okay.
for what we teach and the different topics, you can see some of those recorded seminars. And I think that really empowers people.
Wow.
Today we did one, it was a cute title. It was called Avoiding Senior Scams and Other Devious Plots.
That's huge.
Yeah, it really is
That's
huge.
huge. I mean, I'm technology reasonably proficient, and I get these really real sounding messages.
I know.
A couple days ago, we had trouble delivering your FedEx package. Click here to let us know the next time. And I'm thinking, but
Don't do
been
it.
here. No, I know. And I'm thinking, I was here for the last 4 days. What do you mean you had trouble?
So here's the thing. These are career criminals, and they're really good at it.
Yeah.
And what I tell people in the seminars, don't feel bad if you've been a victim, because they're really professional at what they do, and it's easy to fall for it. You have to educate yourself. Speaking of technology, we're hosting one at Ring House in July on technology, and we have Joan Green, who's very well known for educating older adults in assistive technology, things like that. She'll be teaching that seminar, and that's going to be fabulous information, because how many older adults struggle with attaching a photo to an email or
Simple stuff that
finding
we-
their text messages on their phone, little things like that.
So that's great that you identify where to go to see some of these videos, because somebody might watch this show a year from now, and but so you've got recordings. That
Absolutely.
Will help.
CapitalSeniorSolutions.com on the seminars page, and there's a video library there as well.
And do you train other real estate people? Because you're just one person, and it strikes me that now, as we boomers are getting older, more real estate related people need to be cognizant of and help their clients do this.
We definitely need more realtors trained in working with older adults. We personally don't offer the training, but there is the Seniors Real Estate Institute based in Oklahoma that offers outstanding education. And we have a network of agents all over the country that have the designation that we have. So we have started we have at our brokerage, we have an internal Facebook, it's called Workplace. And there's a group called Senior Focused Agents. And we meet monthly on Zoom from all over the country, sharing resources and information and business ideas and so forth. And we, as it turns out, we are the more educated of the group because of what we've been through. So we're sharing all that knowledge with these other realtors around the country. And they're so grateful for it. And we're happy to share it because there's enough business to go around, and we need more realtors who can serve these folks.
What haven't I asked you that you wish people would think about or know or, I don't know, open their minds to?
Well, I guess let's go back to stuff. And like in the beginning, I talked about if you've got that good set of china you're saving for someone who will ultimately not really want it, pull it out and start using it. You know, it's fine. You're worth it. You've lived a long life. You've worked hard. Use the good china. If you have something you've been saving for a relative that you know they want, let it go now. It'll clear out a space in your house and they'll enjoy it. And you'll get the joy of seeing them enjoy it.
And that's a hard thing I'm at the boomer age. You know, we grew up with parents who went through the Depression.
And they hold on to things.
And so within my whole psyche, and I keep finding myself every day saying, Sylvia, Mom wanted you to say this, but you've got to get rid of this because you don't have the next person to inherit it. But I can feel myself because I grew up in that environment.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing I tell people is there's wonderful organizations, Wider Circle is one of them, who, you know, their mission is to end homelessness, and their goal is to help people get off the streets. And so they need furniture, clothing, dishes, all this. And think about the stuff that you're not using.
That's true.
What joy would it give you to give it to someone who you know truly, truly needs it?
That's true.
You know, and it makes a huge difference in their lives.
Wow.
I just dropped off a bunch of professional men's suits and shoes from a home I listed so that these people, the clients of Wider Circle, can go on job interviews. They desperately need the clothing. They were so grateful. And the family felt wonderful knowing that these clothes were not going to be going to a dump, you know, and not knowing who would get them. So it was a good feeling for all of us.
This is great, and time always goes so fast. Shameless self-promotion, how do people work with you, reach you?
CapitalSeniorSolutions.com or 301-646-5774.
Jan, thank you. Thank you for the conversation today. I think this is so needed. What's that last, in the next 30 seconds or so, that last word you want people to remember?
Word or multiple words?
Multiple words.
I would say work with us and be overjoyed, not overwhelmed.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. Thank you, Jan, for
Thank you for having me.
Think About It. And to viewers, as usual, great topic. And I invite you to keep your eye on the programs and tune in, take what you see and hear, and, well, think about it. I invite you to make a great day.